And the last thing we mentioned was the problem with counterfeit people. With the related problems that you probably have read also in the last days of what we could call synthetic humanity. That is the possibility to interact with agents based on large language models and also on graphical interface for different reasons. With recently an interview by Mark Zuckerberg saying that in the future there will be much more interaction on the social media directly with AI agents. With a lot of discussions because they were not entirely safe. Some of these bots started talking about sensitive issues with minors and so on. And also you have read articles about the problem of the emotional impact of artificial agents avatars which are very realistic, with people trying to solve marriage problems, asking for suggestions to ChatGPT or similars, and so on, with people emerging evidence that people tend to be more alone when they use large language models and artificial and synthetic humans, let's call it in this way. See, we are at the beginning of these preliminary studies. There are always the problem of correlations. Maybe one is more alone and then he starts using these systems and not vice versa. But still, we must monitor this issue. As well as another one, which is surely already creating dangers, which is the one of deepfake. With an image generation model, you can increasingly use these systems to create, starting from normal images, pornographic images or even videos with enough powerful systems that someone with the right knowledge can download and run on a laptop even with good results, but also many apps on the stores, even we advertised on Facebook. There was another article by 404 Media on this issue of Facebook Meta monetizing these kind of things. Bots on Telegram, when you send a photo with instructions and you get back a pornographic image of whoever. Problems at schools with young students making stupid things with the photograph of their schoolmates and so on. Not to mention the most horrible topic of pedopornographic deepfakes, where some systems with less guardrails are used to create image with children, creating new problems, new crimes, sometimes in some places not yet regulated, increasing the market of pedopornography. So if large language models seems quite dangerous, the generation of images, artificial images, is even even more dangerous, and there are already uses, criminal uses of this. For the Italians, this morning there was an article about a famous doctor, became famous in particular during the pandemic, and thus object of hate speech, where on Facebook there is a video with artificial intelligence of a news program saying that he was dead, shot by someone. And Facebook, and he wasn't able to convince Facebook to remove the video from the social media. Or you all know, you have seen in the past days, the images published not only on the Truth Social, but even on the official channels of the White House, with President Donald Trump dressed as a pope or as a Jedi warrior, whatever the meaning of both image, the intended political meaning of both images was. What else? Continuing on the problem of fake material, we must mention the huge problem created after some months of launch of OpenAI on the educational system, because even elementary school child can use ChatGPT or other large language models to make their homework, or if the professor is distracted, use these systems even during the written examinations, and so on and so forth. Things also at the university level, probably a bachelor thesis can be entirely made without much effort on ChatGPT, but probably also with some more effort, a master thesis, parts of papers, and so on. And these problems have been created without any consideration, without any safeguard, and even with some hypocritical actions, like the one represented on this image from the official blog of OpenAI. It was early 2023, so after some months from the release of ChatGPT, where they said, "Oh, look, we are solving the problems of all professors and teachers. Take this AI classifier for identifying whether a text has been written by AI." That at that point, AI was a synonym of ChatGPT, but they warned, well, it is working only 25% accuracy, so it seems it was completely useless. And beside this, on around July of the same year, in another post on the blog of OpenAI, they said, "Oh, we retracted the AI classifier. It doesn't matter because it didn't work at all." So they are really making fun of the educational world, which is in complete desperation and disarray, not knowing what is fake and what is real, and still struggling to find guidelines about what to do, because we cannot forbid it, because it's useless to forbid something that you cannot verify and then sanction. And the alternatives that often are presented, like, okay, you just give up with written exams and all, make oral examinations are obviously nonsense in terms of resources. Take a PhD course like this one. There is more than 100 people, actually 300 registered. So how could ever make some hundreds of oral examination for this course? So the reality of the limited resources, the limited competencies of the educational world at all levels is in conflict with these instruments that continue to improve, and there are still no guidelines on how to use them proficuously and how to avoid the problems. As usual, you can always stop me at some point to ask a question, to make comments, to propose your opinion. Go to Amazon to find a book for your vacations. Be aware that you can find hundreds of fake books made by AI. Which, as you know, is feasible because Amazon doesn't print on paper books in advance, but books can be printed at the moment you make the order online on the e-market portal. But okay, that's a pity for your vacation. Maybe you will find some museums closed because the time schedule was wrong, but it is much more dangerous if you decide to go getting mushrooms in a wood, because there are, again, news from 404 Media, there are even books about mushrooms made with ChatGPT and sold on Amazon. There are even books with real authors, but the authors didn't know about the book, the fake book that he has been written with artificial intelligence and sold on Amazon or another portal. Obviously, again, many of these problems were already there. You can write a book and sell it in the name of another person, or you can make a cut and paste, you can make plagiarism, you can pay someone to write your thesis. It happened, but obviously it is costly, it is risky, because you have someone who knows the real story, the quality is often bad, while now, without any risk, at least in principle, you can do whatever without no costs. But no, I want to come back because I forgot to make you a question. Okay, let's go back to the AI classifier. In reality, there is a way that OpenAI and the other creators of large language model could have provided to give warranties about a text. A simple interface where you upload, I as a professor upload your thesis, and I get back all the sentences, paragraphs, or entire chapters probably written by ChatGPT. OpenAI didn't do this, and it could have done probably in some days of programming and without using AI at all. And the question is, how could they have done this? It's not a technical question. It's just a common sense thing. think about that and just open your microphone if you want to reply. You all know.
Maybe there are mistakes.
No. Now there are no more mistakes, or there are more mistakes in human written text, or
Yeah, I mean
vice
for
versa.
humans.
For humans. Yes. I don't know. I never tried to ask ChatGPT for a text with error. Maybe it provides this. No, but I mean, not. It is something that OpenAI, a service that OpenAI could have provided, not something that a professor could understand.
Maybe more transparency is about sources.
Okay, I repeat the question because someone is asking. Imagine you are OpenAI, you are Sam Altman. You wanted from the beginning to solve the problem of fake educational content created by unfaithful students. So OpenAI creates a web interface where the professor, whoever professor, can upload a text, an homework, a thesis, a PhD thesis, or whatever, and get as a result the sentences written by ChatGPT. Darina, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, I do think if the program was created by the same authors as the OpenAI was, then it simply highlights those chunks or pieces or pages that were used or created by the ChatGPT. So fortunately or not fortunately, maybe it's not that deliberate in terms of mistakes, as colleagues said before, but I do think it's just the matter of like highlighting how many things were originally created by the human and the input from the machines. Well, it's just a suggestion. Thank you.
But how can OpenAI easily make this service?
Easily, you mean like in terms of in big scales, or easily technically easily?
Technically easily, but you
With the
don't
code,
need to
because
be a computer scientist.
Well, if I'm not a technician, I'm a lawyer, so I imagine myself probably that in a code which is written, there are similar code settings in the different programs, but similar. So as in OpenAI, as the same as in this classifier, which detecting the patterns.
It's simpler.
Okay.
Chiara has the right answer.
Can I speak? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, please.
Okay, yeah, from what I remember last, they were also following the tokenizer that they have. They were marking it in a way that they can track if the set of text that was generated was from a specific tokenizer. And the other method that they had
No,
was
much more simple. As Chiara is suggesting, whenever ChatGPT generates a text, they put it somewhere on their log file. They have a record of all what ChatGPT has provided. So if you give a text, they can simply look whether a sentence has been generated by ChatGPT and reply which sentences. They don't even need to say who generated the sentence, which probably could not generated, asked for that sentence, which could probably be protected by the privacy regulation. Instead, simply they know what ChatGPT said. So when a text is provided, they could say that the sentence was created by ChatGPT. So in a sense, they cheated us because they tried to make an AI classifier, which was obviously an impossible thing, as it is probably, it's not proved yet, but creating watermarking for text, we will be back in a moment, is not feasible, as Madhusudan is suggesting. What level of question by Patricia? What level of false positives would be acceptable in this scenario? Right. Yes, this is another interesting question, because if it were a AI classifier like the one proposed here, one should also consider the probability of the plagiarism. So there are probabilities, there are false positives. Which is the threshold where the professor can reject the homework or the thesis? It's a big problem, because now with systems against plagiarism, you don't have probabilities. You have the number of sentences that appear in books and other articles, and you know the source. So it's a more objective problem. Then there is how many sentences acceptable to have been copy and paste, but at least it's something measurable. While here you have the probability. What does it mean that 70% probable that ChatGPT wrote the sentence? What can I do legally as a professor? I don't know. And probably no one knows.
Nothing at all.
Sorry? Please?
I think nothing at all.
No probability. Even 90%. Yeah, indeed. I'm not a lawyer, but I think the same. Then there are other, Matteo is asking, there are billions of sentences. And it would be even possible that as a human write a sentence. Yes, exactly. But again, it is a matter of quantity and probability. Probably, Alessio asks, artificial intelligence uses more in artificial data set than humans. I don't understand what he is referring to. Probably to the issue that the more that AI generated text is published on the web, the more the AI systems are learning from AI datasets, right? Then Nicola, but wouldn't this method account even for text modified, not created by ChatGPT, either for translation or phrases? Yes, indeed, this is the other problem. If I am a foreign language, a foreign student, and I use ChatGPT just to correct the errors, ChatGPT, the system I described, would say, or even AI classifier would reply that I am copying the text, while probably is entirely legitimate for a foreign student or for a student who has linguistic disabilities to make the text correct. It's not so different from the usual syntax correction instruments that you already find in whatever editor. Then Giovanni, the solution is easy in theory but not in practice. ChatGPT should store any answer provided to anybody, and this may require it's a lot of it's true that is a lot of text, but if you take Google has an index of the overall web, so it's surely technically feasible. I don't know how, but they already did. And this is the problem with the fake text. We already probably said about QAnon, right? Please close the microphone. I don't remember, but sorry. Please close the microphone.
Però la cosa che mi preoccupa, la sufficienza viene fuori, però che una studentessa
Okay, I got rid of it. Don't remember whether I mentioned you about the this guy and the QAnon conspiracy. What is important here to recall is that the QAnon conspiracy theory, believed by millions of Americans, now spreading all around the world and with a big influence also on the elections, has been created and diffused starting from a dozen of posts on, I don't remember whether 4chan or 8chan anyway, a social media of a conservative social media, and from a very limited amount of posts written allegedly by some people from some officer from the deep state of the United States, it spreads around the world. So you can imagine what can happen when, instead of just a dozen of handwritten posts, you have a coordinated effort using large language models on the social media. Let's go back to the questions. Patricia said correctly, ChatGPT is not the only player in the game, surely, but at the moment they tried to cheat us with the AI classifier, they were the only one. Now, obviously, it's true, there are also many systems you can use locally, so they could not track the log file. And Franco kindly is sharing a paper from Professor Floridi. Thanks. Every suggestion and comment is welcome. Okay, going on, the use of artificial intelligence in politics for, let's say, positive things, like addressing part of the electorate who is better in different languages than your own language, to all the things we were mentioning above of personalized disinformation. And then there is the raising huge problem of scams based on AI, where there are, let's say, systemic fears, like the fact that if there is some fake news about the financial market, it can crash due to algorithmic hyper trading algorithms. But more concrete, more realistically, because it already happened and it can happen to all of us, take the case of the poor Jennifer De Stefano, mother in Arizona, who received a fake phone call pretending to be her daughter, saying that probably was kidnapped or something bad happened to her. Now already, maybe if you have experience with all grandparents and old grandparents that receive a fake phone call, which is fake not in the sense of AI, but someone pretending with the wrong voice to be a relative in difficulty, and you can experience the drama that is for these people who is already fragile to feel cheated. They even know that the voice is not the one of the son, daughter of or nephew or whatever, whoever, but still it is very traumatic for such an experience. And now you can have the situation where every one of us can receive a realistic phone call and soon also a realistic video call in real time. Madhusudan, I hope to pronounce rightly his name, says in India this is happening at a very high frequency. My parents had several such events. Very bad, and also in Italy, and even at, let's say, a higher level. The Italians connected remember the case where a scam has been made, addressed to several industrials in Italy with, I think, only voice scam, voice pretending to be the Ministry of Defense, asking for black money to solve some political, foreign political issue. And some very important industrial in Italy financed with money that scam. Then it seems that they recovered the money, but still it is very, very impressive that some experienced people can believe in such a scam. So we are really in danger, and even more as soon as the technology improves and it is available to really everyone. And if it is available on premises on your laptop and not online, the traces you leave are very thin. Or imagine what can happen with hackers financed by some foreign state that is enemy of your state. That in the sense that they have enough means, enough resources to do whatever. And this is becoming an official problem, an official fear, like for this Attorney General in Michigan. But if you ask the people who should be most aware of the problem, of the solution, take the FBI in the United States, they officially give suggestions on how to survive, to avoid these scams. And guess what is the solution? Probably it's already written here, so I just highlight it. Create a secret word or secret phrase with your inner relatives to share with them only to verify their identity. Okay. Hi, Mom. Oh, which is the passphrase? And so if it is the solution of the FBI, it means that there is really no solution, no sensible solution at all. And something I would like to focus on, the term secret word or secret phrase is different from password. And from which domain of life it arrives? The term secret word, secret phrase. It's not military. Computer science. Sorry?
Military, maybe.
Military. And this is not something light. It's very heavy that that this technology is militarizing our life, and it is not the only one. Even before AI, there has been the possibility for everyone to use military intelligence level tools to spy whoever. Your competitor in the economy, your partner in your life, your children, maybe because you are just too much afraid of what they can find on the web. the poor Molly Russell. But it is sensible to spy your own children for their safety. I refuse to do that, but still I'm quite scared of what it can happen. There is the increasing problem of grooming of young people using WhatsApp or whatever other messaging thing, and there is connecting this with the problem of deepfake. There is the emerging problem of blackmailing people with pornographic deepfake. It is not real, but I pretend to be real. I menace, I threaten someone to spread the fake photograph, which is fake. But when you release it to the public, you made a damage anyway, even if most people recognize that the picture is fake, and then there is some people who does not recognize or pretend not to recognize that it's fake. You can imagine what can happen, and this can be used as a threat to blackmail people, in particular young people. You don't even need to know them personally. You just go to Facebook, take an image of someone, for a picture of the face of someone, and you can do whatever. There has been a very sad story in Italy of a professor from another university who started making pornographic deepfakes from pictures of her students taken from Facebook or some other social media, or Instagram. But even worse, this is horrible enough, but this person taking images from Facebook, at some point he took some picture when the person was underage, and so he got in a much bigger crime of pedopornography. And the people who made all these systems was aware from the beginning. By beginning, I mean March 23, 4 months after the release of ChatGPT, because the next version, the engine behind ChatGPT, GPT-4, the system card said AI system will have even greater potential to reinforce entire ideologies, worldviews, truths and untruths, and to cement them and lock them in. Okay, so everything was already clear to them. Okay, I promised to talk about watermarking. Very simply, watermarking is a metaphor taken from real currencies, from fiat money, where to prove the originality of banknote, the official printer of banknotes add anti-fraud systems called watermarking with special paper, figures in transparencies, now holograms and other things. So someone is pretending and selling as a solution, someone, I mean big tech, as a solution to do the same for fake images. Okay, I am OpenAI, I am Microsoft, I am Google or whoever. I give you warranties that the images and the text that I create with my generative AI is artificial because I put a watermark inside. A watermark in computer science is a very slight modification of the image that is not perceivable by human. As you see, both sides of these pictures are looks the same, but a special algorithm can detect the watermark and say, oh, this is a picture made by artificial intelligence. This solution has been bought by politicians. If I remember correctly, the executive order of President Biden a couple of years ago said that for public administration in the US should use watermarking systems, but it is not a solution for several reasons. First of all, the metaphor is wrong, because here the problem is not putting the watermark, is removing it, which is the opposite. When you are counterfeiting money, you try to reproduce the watermark of the state of the banknote or of the coin. While here you have the opposite problem. You create a picture with ChatGPT and then you want to remove the watermark, which is the opposite thing. And it has not been proved that watermarks are resistant to algorithm removing them. Maybe for videos it's easier, but surely for text is almost impossible. Yes, Matteo invented the word water unmarking. So this is already part of the problem. And then the other thing is that it is only if big players would do this watermarking is not enough, because there are open source systems that you can download. If you are a programmer, you can remove from the code the watermark and run on your computer a system without watermark. Or again, if you are a rogue state that want to attack another one, can create images without watermarking. And even if at some point one would understand after some time that the image is fake, if the image is very effective and it is provided at the right moment, it is enough to create a big effect. Take on the financial market or in politics. Assume the 6th of January when there was the attack on the Congress, an image, a fake image appeared on the social media. Even if after, I don't know, some minutes, the image is proved fake, probably you would have some more people killed. Or even worse, there is increasing evidence that people does not even believe that it is fake. It is fake. They know that it is fake. There are proofs that it is fake, but still they pretend by the idea that the image or the text is true, because as a philosopher Adorno from the school of Frankfurt said, and it was several decades ago, and now it is happening for sure. It is becoming that question of truths are becoming questions of power. It doesn't interest at all whether something, an image, a text, a news is true, or even some medicine is true. It is important only the political role that document, that text, that news, that image can have. And it was already the world going in this direction in the last years with the tribalization, especially of the US politics and society. And now we have adding oil to the fire with AI. Then there is another huge problem concerning large language models that you already know, is the one of copyright. Is that admissible, legitimate, that OpenAI and all the other creators of large language models downloaded all the web, all the content, and use it to make machine learning for the large language models, both text and images, obviously. This is a really difficult problem from the legal point of view. And since there are several people who made or is making law studies among you, I ask them, let me know your opinion, just with your mic on. Is this legitimate or not to download all the web, whatever it is in the web, and use it for learning? Is there any copyright law expert? Madhusudan, please.
I am not from a governance background, so I might not have the best opinion regarding this. But how I perceive it is depending upon how do we describe these models as are they just technical zero ones, or they have a kind of actual understanding. So if it is right for a human or for a student to go on internet and learn anything, therefore I think a model should also have the right to go on internet and learn anything. So it depends upon how do we describe them, because when a student learns from internet, they don't just copy things and like the Chinese room problem, they don't create that kind of scenario. They actually understand and have intuitions and generate that form of understanding and realization. So if we are ever able to make such kind of models that are able to generate that level of understanding and realization, then I think it is similar to a student learning from internet.
Well, it's a good metaphor. I would reply that, well, if a student is downloading a copyrighted book from an illegal site on the web, probably is breaching the law, even if he only or she only read the book for learning. Please, Madhusudan.
Yeah, sure. In that kind of case, obviously it is not right. But I'm talking about the free segment of the internet, like I guess Wikipedia pages or YouTube videos, that kind of stuff, the free ones.
Okay. There is some people who raise hand, please. So the first one is Chiara. No?
Sorry, there is some background noise, but I was about to reply that the matter of power here is fundamental, because some time ago a student who downloaded tons of gigabytes of files from JSTOR, his name was Aaron Schwartz, was heavily fined and incarcerated, and he died in jail because he committed suicide. And from what I understand from the latest news, this is exactly what AI systems have been doing, pirating and scanning data from thousands of databases, both legal and illegal. But they didn't face any consequence firsthand, and they also made profit from it. And this is very different from what Aaron Schwartz endured, because he was doing it for free and for the benefit of other students, not for his own benefit. So this is, I think, a major difference that should be taken into account.
Yes, I completely agree. Really good point. Patricia, okay, is making the same point as Madhusudan. Probably machines don't understand. But as Chiara is noting, the problem is not understanding. The problem is then making profits. And in general, not all the even the part of the web who is not suggested to copyright is not clear whether it can be used or not. So on the one hand, there is surely the problem of authors, newspaper like New York Times, but also News Corporation of owning Sky, Fox News, of how it's called, the owner, Murdoch, are suing OpenAI and so on. And it has been also proved recently that the managers of Meta were aware that they were going to download copyrighted material from illegal sites or pirate sites like Z-Library or whatever. And there are mails proving, they say, okay, we download them, even if it is copyrighted. So they didn't even buy the books. They could have bought all the books and then make learning on it, and still this was discutable, but they didn't do this. They even downloaded for free on illegal sites copyrighted material. And here maybe I need more help from the lawyers attending the lesson. Even if you write a text and put it on the internet, so without any copyright, there is no law saying that this is that downloading and using it for machine learning is something legitimate, because there are even licenses created for this purpose. Take the common some So can you hear me now? I had the connection problem, sorry.
Yeah, we do. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
So I was saying that even text made publicly on the web by us is not clear whether it can be used for purposes different from the one I put. I write a post on the social media to entertain people, to entertain my friends, but not to allow Meta to make money. And if you read the newspapers, you have only 3 weeks left to forbid Meta from using your posts on their social media for using them in machine learning for the Llama and the other models from them. Okay, there are many comments. Good. Patricia said, depends if you look at economic or moral rights associated with copyright. Yes. And she also says, challenges where copyright has been transferred to journal who in turn sell the works to AI system, right? For example, there has been, because I guess she's referring to the actual author, take a journalist publishing a paper, an article on the newspaper where they are employed, and then the publisher sells all the material to ChatGPT or whoever else, and this is already a problem. I wrote the article as a journalist for the people, and I write to the publisher for that purpose, not to allow it to make money selling my article as data. Then Stilpon, there are also the article for one of the DSM directive that allows exception in case of data mining. Can you say more? Stilpon, please. Or maybe you cannot talk. Claudia is saying in the document of US lawsuit against Meta, there are conversations between employees where they discuss removing copyright watermarks for scientific papers. Good, I didn't know. Then still, there are reasons to allow the aggregation of data from the internet in an holistic way, which allows also research. Things get complicated when someone publishes the result of such aggregation, not in a statistical way, but that in a way that mimics the copyrighted material itself. Good. Patricia, crossing over in the realm of open access, open science, Creative Commons licenses. Good. Alessio, if you publish contents in social media, their property immediately belongs to Meta. Yeah, but they are changing. They are asking to remove the consent now to be safe, as far as I understood. Matteo, New York Times claimed to have found chunks of text completely copied from their articles, right? There is no remix in that. There should have been at least some agreement before using the content that clearly belong economically and morally to someone else. Yes, and you know what OpenAI replied to New York Times? OpenAI said that the New York Times violated the terms of services of ChatGPT because they tortured ChatGPT till it spit out the original text. So it's really a crazy and hypocritical world. And there is no clear solution at all. But we are not done because there is, to be safe, most of them are making lobbying effort to reverse the copyright law, because one of the main things of copyright law is that you have explicitly to ask for permission to the author. It is not sufficient that you that the author does not complain. So Google, when the Australian government asked for opinions to the different stakeholders, said, oh, you should reverse the copyright law and people should opt out if they are not, if they do not agree, which is the opposite of copyright law. But OpenAI, even more hypocritical, went even further. Again, on their blog, they said, okay, we make you a favor. You all know that if you don't want a document to be indexed on Google search or whatever search engine, you can easily go to the root directory of your document and put a robot.txt file specifying the documents, the directories you don't want to be indexed. So OpenAI generally said, okay, if you don't want that the document is used for learning, is collected by web crawlers and used for learning by ChatGPT, you just put it in the robot.txt file. But this is hypocritical because the two things are very different. In the case of Google search, you can prove whether Google search really indexed and return your text. You just search on Google and you see whether the document is returned, the link to the document is returned. In case of large language models, you cannot verify this. So it's a completely empty claim. And moreover, many parts of the web are replied in archive websites. So you said originally not to do that, but they are not doing on your text. You're doing on a copy of your text. So there is open space for litigation. But still, they pretend this to be the case, and they are really cheating, like in the case of the AI classifier for the text created by an AI. Then Claudia say, in the EU, the copyright directive may already make it so that authors need to opt out. Otherwise, text and data mining is allowed. Yeah, but it depends then on the use you make of text and data mining, because another claim of big tech is that they are making fair use. Because at least in the US copyright law, there is the possibility of use part of a copyrighted text for transformative uses. And that's why Google could make Google Books, which is not much popular anymore because everything is digital, but at some point they digitalized scanning all the documents in all libraries in the world, and you can access part of the text. But this has been recognized as fair use because it's a different thing that the original product. And OpenAI and company are claiming the same thing. But things are becoming difficult for them because some weeks ago, a US tribunal for a suit between Thomson Reuters as legal publisher and Ross, a startup that does not exist anymore, and the suit started like 3 or 4 years ago, so before large language models. The judge sentenced that Thomson Reuters is right. The Ross startup couldn't download the material from the portal of Thomson Reuters, which, by the way, the majority was made of sentences for tribunals, so public documents, and Ross could not pretend that it was fair use. But since the matter of copyright is too complicated, the judge resorted to another strategy. He didn't say something concerning copyright violation, but he resorted to competition law. He said that maybe it's possible to reuse documents for learning, but surely you cannot use the result to become a competitor of the original source of the documents. Which I guess is a judgment that scared all Silicon Valley, given that and beyond given that in the common law system, the judgment of a judge is a binding precedent. Moreover, to again go back to the hypocrisy of big tech, we must note that Microsoft and Google and in a different way OpenAI, they how is called in English, they promise business users to cover the damages due to the fact that some enterprise used ChatGPT or whatever to produce a text or an image which violated the copyright of someone. Okay, I create an image, the image is too similar to someone copyrighted, someone makes me sue me in the tribunal, and I can go back to the provider of the generative AI and they will cover the expenses. So this is an admission that they really don't know whether they are violating the law or not, but they are sure to make so much money that they promise to cover the expenses for trials and damage payment of customers. OpenAI, if you read carefully what they do something, they pretend to do this, but then they say that if you violate the copyright, they can ask you for damage. They can sue you for damages, which is really crazy. So Patricia is asking, the cause is the lawsuit is Thomson Reuters against Ross, if I'm not wrong. Francesco, the unlearning process for the AI is not certain, expensive, and data can persist. Right. Coming back to the problem of indexing, like the right to be forgotten law, you can say Google to remove a link which is damaging you, to make it short. But you cannot opt out from an AI because a large language model who took hundreds of millions to be built, months, energy, CPU, GPU usage, you cannot unlearn something. Probably the system can verify that the original text is not spit out of the system, but the knowledge will persist forever within the system. Then Sam Altman even went further and suggested that learning should be a freedom. He didn't say explicitly, but I made him say the thing in an article of magia.news, like it were an amendment to the US Constitution. You have several amendments about freedom, the freedom of speech, freedom of bringing arms, and so on. And he was suggesting that learning for AI is so an important thing that everything should be admitted to be used in learning. So sort of really a freedom to learn, not in the sense that students are free to learn whatever they want, but that they can money with using whatever copyrighted document. And the thing appeared even more strong when some weeks ago, the new release of ChatGPT 4.0 that is making directly images without resorting to DALL-E anymore, created the so-called wave of Ghiblification of the web. Everyone started making, with ChatGPT, making cute fake images in the style of the Miyazaki film of movies, and even Sam Altman himself, that you can probably recognize here on his profile on the social media, put an image made in the Ghibli style. Poor Hayao Miyazaki. And probably if you try now and say, make my image, my photo, take this picture of mine and make a photo in Ghibli style, ChatGPT does not reply, but if you use a paraphrase, you can get the same result, which has been really shocking. Also, given the attention that Hayao Miyazaki gave to things that are created by humans. Uses some algorithms for coloring, but the main drawings are made by hand. Okay. Madhusudan said that he's still working in that way and it's easy. Yeah, also because in the last, again, more or less at the same time, OpenAI changed strategy concerning guardrails, saying, okay, you can do whatever you want with ChatGPT. You can ask to create probably a nuclear bomb, but the important thing is that it does not provide you things that you don't ask. If you want to harm yourself, that's your problem. That's the moral. And we are still talking about the dangers of generative AI while we are already in a world where agentic AI is a reality. Agentic AI means that there are things you cannot simply do in one prompt, but you can, with a very simple graphical interface, create a workflow with a series of prompts allowing you to make more complicated things and then to ask to act directly. For example, fill a form on the website. So large language models are becoming able not only to reply simple things, but to actually do complex tasks in the world. And everyone will be soon able to do that without any particular computer science knowledge. But this is something whose consequences we still have to fully understand and grasp. Then, going on the problem of large language model, we must go back 4 years ago when you all probably know Timnit Gebru and Margaret Mitchell from the ethical team of Google, two top AI scientists, have been fired in a few weeks, one after the other. The media didn't do a good job because they started discussing in particular that Timnit Gebru was apolitical refugees from Africa. The both were female researchers. And so they didn't bother much to read the paper they have been fired for, which is the famous stochastic parrots paper, or better, on the dangers of stochastic parrots. Can language models be too big? Actually, stochastic parrots is an invention of Emily Bender, a professor from I guess Washington University or something like that. Margaret Mitchell tried to hide her name to avoid the problem, but it wasn't enough. By the way, note that we were more than 1 year before ChatGPT, and language models were just big and not large. But they foresaw several things. And in particular, what is written in a section called unfathomable training data, that for an Italian English speaker, unfathomable is unknown, but the dictionary says something interesting. It means incapable of being fully explored or understood. So it's really pertinent term. They also say other things. They foresaw the fact that these models are too costly, consume not sustainable environmentally, and so on. But the real problem is this section. They say several things. First of all, they say that size doesn't guarantee diversity. Because even if you take all the web in all the languages, most of the web is in English, and most of the English web is written probably by white male nerds. Not to offend anyone, just for fun. But it gives an idea of the problem. The size is in hundreds of gigabytes, but it is not enough. The second point, when you download the entire web and you make learning for months, it ends up that your model is already old. Many emerging social views are not represented. And moreover, often changing social views emerge from niche website, blogs, and so on. So the most innovative technology in the world is conservative by definition. Take some years ago when the Me Too movement or the Black Lives Matter movement emerged, which are not popular anymore with President Trump, but they're still a good example. They emerged bit by bit. They took time, and the systems that learn on the web before the spread of the movement were not the system would not know much about this. So there is this first problem, that the problem of bias we already said, and we are going back the next lesson. And then they say that Google does not invested any money in curating the training set, just remove bad words, insult, and so on, but didn't make much curation. This directly connects with another thing we already said of the controllers, the people who are cleaning up the data sets, because otherwise ChatGPT would insult you in the worst way. By the way, some days ago, there was another news in Ghana of a scandal again by some big tech paying very little people to remove documents without any psychological support and so on and so forth. Then another important point, which I already mentioned at the beginning of the course, is that things that appear or are sold to be just technological, in reality are political things. And an example is exactly the fact that you choose to make a system that knows a past reality and not the current one. This is a political choice. You are maintaining the status quo ante, the world as it was, not as it is. And above all, something that has been already forgotten is that these large language models are so powerful in manipulating linguistic form that the performance is so good that we see in them more of what it is. In the sense that since humans are talking with other humans since probably 500,000 years ago, since Neanderthals already probably talk to each other, we are inevitably, by a cognitive bias, driven to attribute to a text, to a communication, a meaning, a context. We think that the interlocutor who sends the message has beliefs, has intentions, has a communicative intention, has goals, and so on. That when we receive a message from ChatGPT or an artificial entity, we are inevitably misled to think that there is more than the reality. And more than the reality means that they are just stochastic parrots. They are just recombining statistically things. As I said in the previous lessons, a large language model given a set of words in input returns the set of words which is the most probable, the most likely continuation of the first test. Since it's text, this is just a generalization of the next token prediction trick, which is at the base of the algorithm. And it is just an illusion. We say that ChatGPT replies. No, it doesn't reply. It returns the most probable continuation of the words we gave as input. And why it is a good image stochastic parrot? Because we know parrots are able to imitate human language, but when a parrot greets us or whatever it says, we know that it's not understanding. And instead, with ChatGPT, we should know the same, but we are illuded that there is more than in the reality. And this could not be in this way, because the learning algorithm is based on the text without any knowledge about the intentions, the communicative intentions, the belief of the human who wrote originally the text used in the learning. And this is something we already knew, paradoxically, because in 1966, Joseph Eisenbaum, one of the fathers of AI, just 10 years after the creation of the AI, made a number of very simple rule-based systems, among which Eliza, who pretended to be a psychotherapist, the Rogerian style, where in all movies you see the mocked psychologist asking question after question. Tell me more about you say something about your mother, and he say, oh, tell me more about your mother, and so on. But still, Weizenbaum was scared by the fact that such a dumb, simple system was able to mesmerize people that saw more than the reality behind it, even if the system was not particularly performant, differently than ChatGPT. And the anecdote is that he entered the room of his secretary, who start complaining, saying something, oh, how do you dare to enter my room while I'm talking with my psychotherapist? Because she was playing with Eliza. And which is just an anecdote, but it is very, very vivid and really explain what the extent of it explains the extent of the illusion we are falling every time we talk to ChatGPT. And we must be aware of what will happen when we will not have just a text. We will soon have a visual. We have already visual avatars, 3D avatars, but soon we will have humanoid robotics expressing maybe is not the right word, mimicking emotional responses. And already now there are, with ChatGPT, used in medical situations where the patients seems to prefer the interaction with a machine, even from the point of view of emotions, of empathy, which is really terrifying, because they are very simple systems compared to what they could do in the future. And already now it seems that we are preferring them to the interaction with a real doctor, which I can understand, that the real doctor is very busy, is human, he has his own problems, but still it is emerging this harsh truth that machines can be better than us, even from a very human point of view, which is empathy. Empathy, it means putting yourself in the dress of another person, to live the emotions of your interlocutor in your brain, with the same circuitry in your brain. And that's why it's very difficult to be empathic. And yet these machines, learning from just text, are able to mimic emotion recognition, emotion expression, empathy, in a way that they appear to be preferred by patients with respect to human doctors. And something that we really cannot undervalue. Okay. I'm switching topic. I'm done with the problem of large language models, and I'm going back to the book Atlas of AI by Kate Crawford to return to the problem of bias again, and show that it is not a technical problem again, which is one of the topics of this part of the course. Concerning bias already in 2019. Rua Benjamin, in Race After the Technology, said, feeding AI systems on the words beauty, ugliness, and cruelty, but expecting it to reflect only beauty is a fantasy. What does it mean? That machine learning, differently than symbolic AI, is just a reflex of the world as it is. And the world is not just beautiful and fair, but is also full of ugliness and cruelty. And this is what these systems learn. Bias, or technically, bias is a type of error in a predictive process. When you make a generalization, the system is systematically and consistently making classification errors. You have a new example and it is misclassified. For example, a diagnostic program given a digital radiology exam performs very well on white Caucasian males, poorly with younger people, women, and unethic minorities. So there is a classification error. The patient is ill, but the system says it is not, or she is not ill. But we have not to stop to this technical definition of bias, says Kate Crawford, because bias in the common language has many other meanings. In law, it is a preconceived notion on opinion, a prejudice, while it is used to say this is a biased judgment by the court, because the court is assumed to be not impartial, to have prejudice. Let's say the court condemns more people of ethnic minorities with respect to white people. Second, in psychology, Tversky and Kahneman, the late Nobel Prize winner, studied cognitive biases, in the sense that we humans, in front of some problems, systematically deviate from probabilistic expectations. We don't get it correctly, even if we are presented with a sufficient number of right examples. One bias we just saw. We see a text and we pretend that the text has been made by an intelligent being, while instead it was just a stochastic parrot. Further, bias also is meant to denote stereotypes, maybe unconscious ones. I pretend to endorse some beliefs and principles, but in reality, I behave in a different way because I am a prisoner of my stereotypes about for example, ethnic minorities. So using the term bias for AI systems is misleading, because we are trying to pretend that biases are just technical errors, while behind the problem of biases there are human beliefs, stereotypes, cognitive bias, or form of discrimination. So we must And the consequences of a bias is not just the quality of the result. The diagnosis is wrong, more likely to be wrong for some categories. Obviously, this is not just a quality problem, it has a negative effect on users. You are discriminating a person not providing him or her healthcare because the algorithm was biased. So it has health problems. It has also, he has or she has psychological problems because I could feel to be discriminated. Not just I'm more ill because I've not been treated medically, but then I don't know why, even I don't know why I have been discriminated, maybe for racial discrimination that have been absorbed by the system. Then there are other further problems of biases, because more and more the systems affect, the AI systems affect the words, creating, for example, problems of proselytism, because even in the simplest form, the autocomplete on a search engine, it can propose the racist or discriminatory content. For example, if maybe now they put an echo on it, but if you type women are, look at what Google is suggesting you, not most often not nice things. Or I don't know why, at some point I was typing shirt and the system was completing it in black shirt, not in a sense of a dark dress, but in the sense of a fascist uniform. So they are inducing discrimination, stereotypes, or also political proselytism. Even worse, and it is already happening, there is a feedback loop reinforcing biases, because the effect of a biased AI system affects the learning corpus. The original example, for instance, from the book of Katie O'Neill, Weapons of Mass Destruction, is the fact of predictive policing. I am the police department of a town. I buy a system to foresee where there could be crimes so that I can send more police patrols in that neighborhood. What happens is that if you send more police, you find more crimes. Then you put the new crimes in the systems. They are mostly from those neighborhoods. So the next time, guess what the system is suggesting? Go and go in that neighborhood. And at the same time, since the resources are limited, either other neighborhoods will receive less monitoring, so there will be less crimes identified, and so on, so forth, in a feedback loop. But even with generative AI, there are the first signals that the material produced by generative AI has been fed in the learning phase again. So if the new produced material contains biases, the learning algorithm will amplify the biases even more. Oh, okay, that was the book I was referring to. let's go back to the medical example. For example, some days ago, there was a paper studying a very famous and successful diagnostic tool called CheckZero, which is on thoracic radiological exams. It studied like 500,000 of radiographies, and on most tasks is better than doctors in diagnosis some problems. And even it is even able to do things that doctors are not able at all, like recognizing the sex, age, and ethnic origin of the patient just from the image without any other clue. But this new study shows that with young people, women, and ethnic minorities, the system is performing poorly, less than a human doctor. Guess why? Well, for young people, luckily, the reason is that young people has less diseases, and so there are less radiographies concerning them. For women and ethnic minorities, instead, the reason is that most of the radiographies in the US are from wealthy people with a good job providing an health insurance. So this is the reason there are less radiographies for the other categories and less rich categories, and so the performances are worse for them. And even if there are probably tens of thousands of people or researchers studying how to correct biases in machine learning, probably there is no real solution, no real purely technological solution. What would be the correct and working solution? Not the technological one, that's why I ask you. No one tries?
No, there is no pure technological solution.
No, so what would be the political solution?
Well, by saying anything, you have to take responsibility for and accountability. You have to be like accountable for your words. But I think that if the human beings are contributing to create those biases, then the human being has to be the first place sort of to start with, to eliminate them and to create a certain set of criteria. And also, nothing creates without attempts and mistakes and learning from them. So if we now see a lot of cases with with the biases, or that something incorporated in those algorithms that led to the bad and negative consequences, let's learn from that and let's take it into account and become smarter based on learning on our mistakes. I mean, it's just the very initial thoughts about that, because I'm pursuing my PhD on that, and sort of it also in the scope of the research, how to eliminate. Yes, there is no one solution, a perfect way of doing things, but not doing it, not helping at the same time, because while we are thinking, there are algorithm and all of those AI, let's say, advantages and developments that are working towards something and harming people. So why not just try and chunk by chunk, piece by piece, or sphere by sphere?
Yes, thanks. I was, yeah, this is a general comment on the problem. I was just very specific on the problem of medical exams. What I meant, the solution is political in the sense that it should be to have free medical insurance for everyone, which I understand in this moment in the US is not much popular as a solution, given the restriction on Medicaid and some other public programs. The bias is a result of the political, social, and economical situation. Only some people can afford suitable health medical exams. And this situation reflects on the performance of the system. So if there is no technical solution, the other only possible solution would have to have free insurance to everyone, like in European countries or in Canada and other countries, so that there is a more balanced distribution of the data. Martina was suggesting another solution, data donation, which, yes, it is another solution, but it requires that you have the data. Well, in this context, you don't have the data because you don't have an health insurance and you get very shallow exams, medical exams. Moreover, it is a good idea, and there are some movements about data commons of putting at disposal of others your medical exams, because it's a good thing that they can be used in research. The warning is that look at what they did with large language models, where they have stolen all copyrighted material, things of what they can do with medical data. Okay, it's time to close. Just another comments. By the way, on the Chinese room, I will come back next lesson, so I will not reply you now. Similar to how devising attention was essential to get effect of intelligence, not neural network scaling, similar, we need some new way to make machines be able to have a self-illustration method, to make machine understand what is a bias and to avoid it. Yes, in theory, but the problem is that bias is bias means is not the same for everyone. And if you make some experiments comparing what ChatGPT says and what DeepSeek says, you really see the difference. There are two completely different mentalities, and no one can say which is better and which is worse. So if you consider bias purely a technical problem, like many pretend to be, then you can pursue your suggestion. But otherwise, if you see bias from the political point of view, there are many alternative solutions. Again, a problem of power and not and a political problem and not a technical one. Okay, I have to stop here. I put again the link to the form for attendance, and next week, as I said you by email, there will be not me but Maurizio Mori completing his part on ethics, and then at 11 o'clock, mind, not at 2 o'clock, and then the last lesson in 2 weeks with me and Ioannis Peters. Thanks for your attention, all your questions and comments, and see you next week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. No, bye. See you.
Bye. Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye.